Good day. This is Speak On It. And we are here today for the Retro Current team, WHO, in collaboration with the LaShawn Ford's Westside Heroin and Opioid Task Force. We're going to talk about some opioid-related issues as we go through the show, but we're going to also talk about some other type of issues. So we will be going from one end to the other, back to the middle. But I was thinking the other day, as I was standing out over in Inglewood on 63rd and Damon, and someone drove up and she said, well, you know, I saw you on TV. And for a minute, I didn't connect. And I said, you saw me on TV. And then I realized that cable TV. And I know that Chicago Access is cable TV. But people be talking like cable TV is something other than Chicago Access. But what I was told at CAN TV and Channel 19 and the operations here is that anybody in the Chicago area that has any type of cable can get Channel 19. It might be another number on your system, and Channel 21. And then I said, that is interesting. And that a couple of million people have access if that's what they choose to do. Now, I'm finna divil into something that, you know, need to be clear, but I'm talking to Amari, and we keep wrestling with why these shows keep getting rejected. Simply because the fact that we saw the other day where this boy, 17-year-old boy from Illinois, went over to Wisconsin, Kenosha, with an AR-15, and 455 people had rang the bell. That's just another way of saying had contact Facebook, letting them know that the militias was calling for armed people to come over there. But we ain't gonna get into all of that right now because sometime today I'm gonna find out from Amari how much more time I got down here because I'm looking at the clock and I'm looking at the calendar. So I don't want to get too deep off into something that needs more than one time. But I am gonna say this here. Because, see, what has happened with social media is something that I am not accustomed to and I'm not used to because I'm just a plain Negro, so I don't understand. But since this is how they see it, it's cool. Everything we do here now is rejected for Facebook as it relates to the business page. And all I'm doing is saying boost the page so people can see it. If I put a show on Facebook and only 5 people see it, only 1 person see it, that means, damn it, you ain't pushing it. Come on, Facebook. But yet you can let this boy. And then you can also let him damn near raise $200,000 before you realize that that's being done. But you can see everything, hear everything that I say, and all I'm saying is, come on, y'all, wake up. Stay alive. Do good. But that's censorship. Same thing with YouTube, Google. Disapproved. Check the words of these social media new generations. The government can't censor you because of the Second Amendment, so they say. So they gave us CAN TV so that the community could have access to get the word out. But now we got social media has moved in, and now what they have done is co-opted, buying up constitutional opportunities where you can use Facebook and reject anything, censor anything some Negroes say that you don't want heard. I hear you. I won't be trying to boost nothing else. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool. I can save my little money. Feel me? No, I'm not ratting and raving, but I'm just letting you know I am not the one. Because I was doing fine before somebody told me about some damn Facebook. Then you kept saying, boost your post, boost your post. I started boosting my post, you start trying to act like you think I'm a damn Russian. You know daggone well I ain't no Russian. You know I'm not a militia. You know I am not an activist. You know this shit, Facebook. And we know you'll reject this one. So I'm going to just let it be clear. So have your little AIs to do whatever they want to do, and we saying this. Because as long as CAN TV is here and the government say we can come here, I'm going to do this here. And as long as the other venue is here, I'm going to do that. Because that ain't social media. We are not sensitive to that degree on that. But now you want to reject. Who are you? But you don't reject all of these idiots killing themselves on Facebook, killing each other on Facebook, killing the police on Facebook, burning up the damn country on Facebook. That's all right, huh? Same thing to you, YouTube. Disapproved. Who in the hell are you? Try to pay you a little Google ad so you would let people know. We do a show and we get one view. How can we only get one view? And I got damn near 5,000 so-called Facebook contacts. That means that you devils have decided that, look, we don't want nobody to hear this Negro. Yeah, I said that, and this is commentary. That wasn't part of the script, Omari. That was the part of the spirit. You censor. Everything we try to do here, you censor. So we're going back to what we used to do. We're going to do CAN TV. You understand? We're going to do the other venue that's been going on in Chicago ever since I was a boy. And if you by any chance decide to let these things go up, oh well. But hey, I don't go for rejection. I can't handle it. I used to see some fine females, but I wouldn't dare say nothing to them because I couldn't stand rejection. Flat nose, big lips. But hell, my lips wasn't that big. Now, I can't say nothing about my nose. It is sort of flat. But I ain't talking about them big old bubblegum balloon lips. But that used to be part of our experience. So the Negro knows about a lot of things. But it takes one like me to still hear from those old school days to try to help the young people understand how not to get caught up in foolishness. But anytime we try to get the message out, you little young, you ain't even politicians, but you done bought up everything. So now you're circumventing the freedom of speech. Go on with that, man. I'm through with that. Now I want y'all to look at this piece from the show. And I'm starting off with this piece because it's so painful. Painful because of the fact that she had a chance. God gave her a chance to stay alive with her children. But listen to what her parents say. Listen to what her family say. And I say the same thing to us.
Tri-State, 3 young children witnessed their mother overdose and die right in front of them.
Family members of Lacey Sexton say she put her children in the same situation just months ago, but this time she didn't wake up. 9 on Your Side's Julie O'Neill spoke with Sexton's family about what might have saved her life. Julie?
It's not often you hear people praise someone for being a wonderful mother and in the same breath say they wish she'd been put in jail. In this case, there are those who believe a stern consequence might have saved this young mother's life.
Beautiful woman. She loved her children.
She was a good mom, and my kids, her life revolved around them.
And yet the father and grandmother of 27-year-old Lacey Sexton say she just recently started dabbling in drugs. They say all 3 of her kids were asleep in a parked car with her at 3 in the morning Saturday when the 7-year-old awoke and couldn't wake mom.
She breaks down a lot, which is good. She needs to get it out. We love her. We encourage her. We explain to her.
What's hard to explain is why no one could revive mom like they did 4 months ago when the same thing happened in this Harrison Speedway parking lot. Sexton went before a judge, but loved ones wish he hadn't been so lenient.
She was given a year's probation and a slap on the hand for the child endangerment charges, 4 of them. They were dropped down to 1 charge.
Pam McClafferty says Sexton's mandated supervised visits ended too soon.
There wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough consequences to really make someone think about their actions. The unsupervised part of it is what ended up endangering those children again and costing her life.
Sadly, the first overdose happened on her daughter's 7th birthday. This second one happened on her son's 9th birthday. The other child is 3. Also in the car with them was Sexton's boyfriend. Harrison police have not told me yet whether he might face charges. We'll stay on top of it. At the Hamilton County Justice Center, Julie O'Neill, 9 on Your Side.
You see, that is sort of sad, you know. those young people will never be able to get over this because it's a birthday thing. It seemed like the spirit was determined to call her on one of those kids' birthday. But I think the word that I want to bring to our attention is consequences. See, the family believed that the judge might have not been rigid enough, might have been too lenient. That's relevant to a lot of other issues going on in society. Sometimes without the consequences, these type of situations are the end result. But with the proper consequence, sometimes you can change destiny. Yes, you can. And what we, I think, have to start doing is looking at what's happening in society and stop being in denial. You know daggone well that the destruction that's taking place in this society at this time makes no sense. But you can't use common sense because these media manipulators have geeked you to think that there should be no consequence for committing a crime. See, there's a difference between a crime and criminal intent and a cause and peaceful intent. And what has happened in the Negro community is we have allowed ourselves to just get stupid. You know daggone well Black Lives Matter, but you know doggone well those white folks are going around like what happened in Kenosha. That boy killed 2 other white people that was saying Black Lives Matter. But when you look at the first one, you know, if I was Black Lives Matter and I had a criminal background like him, particularly as it relates to sexual offenses, I wouldn't have been able to be out there in that protest, running my mouth, talking about Black Lives Matter. Here he is, a white dude that was trying to attack. Yeah, I saw those videos. Y'all say y'all didn't see those videos where they were trying to attack this boy. I ain't gonna get off into whether or not he should have been doing what he was doing. I'm not gonna deal with that. What I'm gonna deal with is this. If people are getting ready to attack you, chase you, and by whatever way you can to defend yourself, he just happens to have an AR-15 because dude was coming for him, actually was trying to take his gun, and another one actually had a gun in his hand. No, I ain't representing Trump. I ain't representing his lawyer, but I'm saying y'all need to start talking about the whole piece of the pie. You all just want to talk about foolishness. Talk about the whole piece of the pie. Where are the consequences? And had there been consequences on this dude that kicked all of this off before he was shot in the back, we wouldn't have this situation. We have a situation because the consequences have not been correct in any of these cases to bring about a different outcome. And until we start having consequences, we'll continue to have these outcomes that people in my generation really don't understand. A lot of us don't understand how can you not have common sense. But let's go on, Amari, because it looks like I'm getting a little bit too far out.
Heroin is an illegal, pain-killing opioid used for its euphoric effects. The root of all opioids is the opium poppy plant. Opium poppy has been cultivated for thousands of years, and was known to the ancient Sumerians as the plant of joy. Opium poppy is used to create morphine, which is then further refined to create heroin. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, in 2015, over 4 million people over the age of 12 had used heroin at some point in their life. And not only is heroin highly addictive, it's also extremely hazardous to users. So as heroin becomes more popular, there are more heroin-related deaths, especially ones caused by an overdose. An overdose occurs when more heroin is used than the body can handle. But what exactly happens during an overdose? Why is it so dangerous? Well, it's all because of how heroin affects the central nervous system. Heroin slows down the central nervous system and inhibits pain receptors, which creates a feeling of euphoria. Breathing and heart rate slow down in response to the depression. This can cause heroin users to fall asleep. While sleeping, lungs and heart rate slow even further. Oxygen levels drop. The body essentially forgets that it's supposed to be breathing. Victims then die from lack of oxygen in their body. The first 3 minutes are the most important for someone who is overdosing. In the first 3 minutes without breathing, if someone is resuscitated, they can hope to walk away unscathed. But after 3 minutes, that hope diminishes. After 5 to 10 minutes of not breathing, severe, permanent brain damage takes effect. So even if someone survives the overdose, they can be permanently disabled. So how do you know if someone is having an overdose? There are several signs that someone is overdosing. The most common are slow, shallow breathing, or not breathing at all, bluish skin and lips and blue nails, weak pulse, and small pinpoint pupils. While heroin is dangerous on its own, it's more dangerous in the presence of other drugs. Even someone with a high tolerance to heroin and other opioids can die from what is called polydrug use. Many people have heard the term speedballing. This is a mixture created by combining heroin with a stimulant like cocaine. This combo is incredibly euphoric, but it's also incredibly lethal. And deadly combinations don't have to be so intense. Just having a few beers in combination with heroin can cause an overdose. This contributes to why so many experienced heroin users have overdoses. They feel comfortable with the amount of heroin they use, but the high isn't as dramatic as when they first started. They look to drinking or using other drugs to get a better high, which can cause more damage than using heroin alone. Actor Phillip Seymour Hoffman died at age 46 due to an overdose. Now, Hoffman died from a combination of heroin, benzos, cocaine, and amphetamines. He was found with a syringe in his arm on the floor of his bathroom. Addicts need more intense doses of a drug to keep getting the same high as when they were first used. Hoffman probably wasn't feeling a huge effect from the drugs he was using, due to his experience and tolerance. This, however, didn't stop his respiratory system from failing. Chasing a bigger heroin high by adding more drugs to the mix is a deadly combination. Heroin purity is also a factor in overdoses. Using heroin is like playing Russian roulette. Many addicts can go for years without experiencing an overdose. Heroin is illegal and therefore unregulated. It's a gamble every time it's used because there's no way of telling what exactly is in the batch being bought. Dealers often cut heroin with water-soluble substances to make a bigger profit. This increases the size of the batch, but also cuts the potency of the heroin down. Now, since heroin is dealt on the street and it's unregulated, the potency varies from batch to batch and from dealer to dealer. This creates a dangerous situation. A heroin user may grow accustomed to the amount of heroin that they use, and become overconfident when smoking, shooting, or snorting it. If they try a batch of heroin that's stronger than what they're used to, they can easily overdose. And there's no perfect way to tell how potent the heroin is until it's used. Just by sight alone, it's impossible to know what the purity of the heroin is, or what it's cut with, or if there's any other drugs included in the mixture. Another hazard for heroin users is heroin being cut with fentanyl. Fentanyl is an extremely potent opioid. It's several times more potent than heroin. Medicinally, fentanyl is prescribed to patients with severe chronic pain or patients that have built a resistance to other opioids. Fentanyl-laced heroin is undetectable. The user has to test the product to know if it's even there. Unfortunately, many heroin users don't take that precaution. They use as they normally would, and they're blindsided by the power of the fentanyl, and that surprise can be deadly. Fentanyl is popping up more and more as time passes. Between 2013 and 2014, the DEA reported that there was almost a 400% increase in seized products containing fentanyl. And in April 2016, British Columbia, Canada, had to announce a state of emergency because of the amount of fentanyl-related deaths. Fortunately, there is a reliable way to counteract an overdose. Naloxone, commonly known as Narcan, reverses the effects of an opioid overdose. Naloxone attaches to the parts of the brain affected by opioids and blocks them off. This stops the overdose in its tracks. Naloxone typically works in minutes and continues to save lives as opioid abuse skyrockets. Some states are even allowing naloxone to be sold over the counter to help stifle the amount of overdose deaths. While naloxone prevents death, it doesn't cure addiction. And with heroin addiction, there's always a risk. No matter whether someone is taking heroin for the first time or the 100th time, there's a chance of them overdosing. A study by the New York Academy of Medicine actually found that it's more common for experienced users to have an overdose rather than new users. Using other drugs and alcohol in addition to heroin creates a perfect storm that leaves death in its wake. There will be times when medical response isn't fast enough to administer naloxone. The only true way to avoid death is to be abstinent from heroin completely. When it comes down to it, the high just isn't worth the risk.
I'm going to be brief on this, but I have to say this as it relates to the Heroin opioid task force that was convened by LaShawn Ford. That's what it's about right there. And I was looking at from some program in Philadelphia. I almost had it, but then I scrapped it. Because in Chicago, we don't do that. They had some outreach workers, and what they was doing, it was just, in my opinion, it was disgraceful. But I wanted to show it to you so I could show a contrast between what the partners in the West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force are doing in street outreach versus what they're doing in that particular situation. Now, that was something that should have been challenged by these social media pieces, because they challenged us about one of the pieces we did about credentials. But what I saw in that was just straight up garbage. I said that. It was garbage. What LaShawn Ford instructed us to do was get the word out, to bring about awareness. And because, I know you look at me and you say, how can this person call himself a doctor? Damn it, because I earned a PhD in what I do. I do it like me, and I did not give up my soul, and I did not lose my identity in it. So don't get all twisted because I'm sitting here. But at the end of the day, I believe in quality information. And that's why you hear me do commentary, but you also see me bring information like what you just saw. That information there is basic information that you need in your living room or wherever your cable TV is. You need to understand things that you otherwise would not be exposed to, because the Sun-Times and the Tribune is not going to show you that or tell you that, and you ain't gonna read it and know how if they did. But on TV, and with a person with the type of approach I have, you might take time to listen to that and save somebody's life. And that was the mission. That is the mission of the West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force, to save lives. And that information there, and the information that we weave into this commentary, speak on it, will help you save a life. Narcan, naloxone will help you save a life. All right, brother, let's go to the next one because I'm looking at the clock.
This is a photo of Amanda and I. She actually gave this to me for Christmas a number of years ago. She's probably about 4 years old. I have some wonderful memories of her back in those days. I mean, of all of them, right? Life is always full of so many surprises.
Lyanna Wright is a working mom, a trained nurse, and a coroner on the front lines of the fentanyl crisis. So when her own daughter, Amanda, became addicted, it was a shock.
This was the bathroom where Amanda had purchased a flop of fentanyl, probably at the foot of our driveway from a drug dealer that had come by when we were in bed, and snorted some of the contents of it, and then proceeded to walk down the hall into our kitchen.
Unlike many OD victims who die behind locked doors, Amanda left the bathroom. Fortunately, someone saw her collapse.
I heard my dogs barking in a manner which I had never heard before. It was quite alarming, and I knew something horrible had happened. They were making noise. They knew that something wasn't right, because the way they were barking was in a manner that I had never heard before.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God is right, yeah.
Then her medical training kicked in.
Thankfully, I was able to open her airway and start doing CPR.
It was about 10 minutes before Amanda started to breathe. By then, the damage to her brain was already done.
It was a tough thing to realize and to discover about myself, that I wasn't the same person that I was before.
In truth, I didn't know that she would ever be anything more than she was. Even the neurologist that we were seeing didn't really have any suggestions for us. It was like this was kind of uncharted territory.
They turned to a private clinic and started paying for rehab meant to rewire Amanda's brain.
We went from that to who you see today in front of you.
But unlike Amanda, most overdose survivors don't get specialized treatment. Most don't recover.
you just think of this tsunami of healthcare costs and criminal justice costs that are coming our way, and it's something that's actually quite difficult to measure and quantify.
For Lyanna, the cost has been how different her life turned out, still caring for her adult daughter.
There are days that, or moments, I should say, where I get very frustrated with her. I mean, the brain injury has left her with challenges with respect to memory, planning, judgment. There are just moments where I get frustrated, and then I kind of resent everything that the addiction has brought our way. It leaves a very wide wake in its path.
A path far too many people find themselves on, alive, but forever changed. Jody Martinson, CBC News, Pitt Meadows.
Well, we're going to just keep going because that speaks for itself.
Minutes before school's out, Deputy John Ayler pulls up. He's been called to the pickup line of Carter Elementary for a fender bender. He's desperately trying to get inside this van. It hit that red car with children inside. The car still in drive. Deputies break the glass and pull out a 30-year-old woman. The Knox County incident report says she took a roxycodone pill she got from one of her friends.
Unfortunately, we see this all the time.
District Attorney General Sharm Allen isn't surprised. Her office tracks overdoses in Knox County daily.
Really, people have overdosed everywhere that you can possibly think of in our community.
Now let me say this. That's something that has happened in recent years, and Trump's administration has spent, or should I say, put a lot of money, in some way of speaking, to deal with the opioid crisis. But one of the things that has happened is that now they are treating it like it's a disease. You see how people are responding now? You don't hear all the venom to the people we see that we are presenting. Even with heroin, you don't hear all of the venom because people are beginning to see it differently. But this is not a new problem. It's an old problem. And I don't want to get into all that racism and all that, I get sick of all of that. That's how the society was. So everything was black and white, and everything still is black, white, and other now. But because they are now treating heroin and these other street drugs as part of the opioid crisis, then Negroes are getting some help. And Negroes are getting treatment instead of criminal war on drugs type life sentences. You feel me? That's why it's good. It's good that people are looking at it different because the residual effect benefits us. It was not done because of us. But we benefit because of the people that you see. You understand? That's what you got to understand. Stop being so lopsided in your way of thinking that you always want to talk about, well, ain't the point, y'all. We've been dying all the time and we're going to keep dying. But some of us going to be able to live because now you can go into the store and get some Narcan, naproxone, because they're trying to keep those other people alive. Feel me? Let's go on, Barry.
While trial, the Morning Insiders are focusing on fighting opioid addiction inside the Cook County Jail.
An ongoing program has already saved more than 100 lives. CBS 2's Lauren Victory takes us inside the jail where these life-saving techniques will continue making a difference after life behind bars.
I was with a friend. He injected heroin and then he fell down and started turning blue.
Jessica Goodman's traumatic experience is not uncommon.
He was unresponsive.
Naisha Clark also witnessed her boyfriend overdose on opioids.
His heartbeat was so shallow.
Luckily, Clark and Goodman had an opioid reversal drug with them.
I usually had it in my bag at all times.
Naloxone, also called Narcan, is given to these and thousands of other Cook County detainees when they leave jail. The life-saving kits provided upon release have been used at least 130 times, CBS 2 has learned. Illinois' Department of Public Health tells us more than 1,000 people died from opioid overdoses in 2018 alone. That's just in Cook County.
Addiction is a disease, so people need to be prepared for the worst and hope for the best.
The jail partnered with Cook County Health to train detainees about naloxone, hoping that will reduce these numbers.
So our program started in August of 2016, and we've educated 6,800 patients, and we've dispensed roughly 5,000 kits.
CBS 2 saw how these kits work firsthand.
You peel it back, stick the tip in the nostril, the other nostril, press up on the plunger, wait a couple minutes.
I clicked the button and he woke up instantly.
It brought him back, and when 911 came, he was more okay. So I've used it on one person, and then I had it used on me.
Studies show that opioid users are at the greatest risk for overdosing after they are released from jail because their tolerance is dropped.
We needed to be very proactive.
Sheriff Tom Dart says Cook County Jail is one of the first in the country to supply Narcan to people leaving the lockup.
People saying, well, you're just encouraging people to use more opioids because now they can have no fear because they can be revived. It's like, that's insane.
It could give you the opportunity to save someone's life.
Did any part of you say, thank God I have this?
Lauren Victory.
A lot of me said, thank God I have this.
CBS 2 News.
Narcan kits don't come cheap. They cost around $115 each. Cook County Health told CBS 2 that a more than $300,000 grant from the state pays for the drug. To see how Cook County's naloxone program compares to others around the country, visit our website, cbschicago.com.
Now, don't get frightened by that price. You can call the Westside Heroin Opioid Task Force, and there are plenty of partners that can assist you in accessing resources and some of these kits for much less than that, and in many cases free. All right, brother, we can continue.
Police in Massachusetts looking to file child endangerment charges. Look at this. Against a mother who apparently overdosed on heroin in a store with her toddler next to her. Investigators have been looking at this YouTube video. It has been viewed millions of times by people, and it seems to show the woman sprawled out in the aisle of a store as her 2-year-old daughter tugs her hand, trying to revive her. You can hear the 2-year-old crying there for her mom.
Is your river?
Paramedics rushed to the woman to the hospital after reviving her with the antidote Narcan. The toddler is now in the custody of Child Protective Services. Oh my gosh.
Look,
what a heartbreaking.
It is. Look, we know the scope of the problem. We know that nothing is stronger than the pull of the drug for an addict, not even having their child there. A little bit of question about who was recording that?
Don't know.
And
Don't
not
know.
going to get the kid right away and trying to comfort the kid.
Don't know. Well, we can try to get that answer.
Okay, let's go on to the other one, brother, because, I don't know why I'm so time conscious today. But let's just move right along.
Child endangerment charges. Look at this. Against a mother who apparently overdosed.
Well, while we find another piece, we're going to try to change gears a little bit here. But,
don't care.
So we can talk if we want
you
to.
can all leave. You can go to jail.
I'm not going nowhere. It doesn't matter. You're on our property. We did not call you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still right.
Black Lives
Matter. I want to. You not
Black Lives
me.
Matter.
I'm not resisting you. You're not touching me.
You're under arrest.
You fucked up.
613, 10-3.
Black Lives Matter.
Come here.
Leave her alone. You cannot let her be on the rest. Come on now. Come on. Come on now. Come on, Izzy. Come
Get
on
on the
now.
ground. Get on the ground right now. Taser, taser.
Stop! What you doing?
Stay there, right?
Stay there, Dre.
Turn over right now. Put your hands behind the back. Turn over. Turn over. Put your hands behind the back.
You finna get sued, sir. What's
Turn over. Put your hands behind the back. I will tase you again.
Call the police, mama. Call the police, mama.
Can I please get your name? Taser deployed.
Can I please
Turn
get
over.
your name?
Mama,
over.
I can get your name.
Now,
I can't go on waiting.
now, I want you to use your head. You don't know what was going on, so you would say, but you saw enough to know what was going on. You see, Black Lives Matter, right? Now, what in the hell did Black Lives Matter have to do with that? That was some foolishness. Why did the female assume that she could play with the cop? See, that's how you get killed. Regardless of why he was on the porch, regardless of what you think, it was the way that she and her mama and them other gals hanging around there dealt with the situation. Just like he tased her, he could have shot her. And then you would have been running around hollering Black Lives Matter, but you would have disregarded what you just saw. That was some kids' play. But that female act like that was her boyfriend. She act like that was her toy. Running around a damn swing with her retarded mama sitting in it. But they did not deal with him like he was the police. They dealt with him like he was a joke. So what did you expect the police to do? At least he tased her. And when he tased her, she acts like, oh, you did that to me? That's why, that's why you got to stop being so gullible. We, Negroes, bring a lot of this tragedy on ourselves by not using common sense. The man was there. You should have acted like you understood the relationship between you and the police. If we stop acting like we don't understand that the police are the same police descendants of those that had our ancestors in slavery, and they would do to us and are doing to us what they did to our foreparents, then we'll begin to understand how our foreparents was able to live long enough for us to be here. But now you're running around in some little fake Black Lives Matter group that's really, all I ever see is white folk burning up the town. And I'm doing a whole lot of rioting and stealing and hollering Black Lives Matter. But the Negro knows Black Lives Matter. The Negro know all lives matter. But the Negro also know you have to respect the police. You have to respect yourself. You have to discipline yourself. You don't play with the police like that little gal. She was just, probably was the mama, maybe, or some of them young'uns. Why are you running around with swing with your retarded mama sitting in it and the police chasing you and he about to fall? Suppose he would have failed in the gun discharge. Then he would have been the biggest racist in town. That's what you would have said. Yeah, I'm going to call it like it is. Because until we start dealing with it for what it is, we're going to continue to play these foolish games and lose lives. That could have been another dead colored. I can't even call her a Negro. She ain't got enough sense to be called a Negro. Clowning with the police. Tell your kids and your grandkids to stop clowning with the police. When the police approach you, whether he right or wrong, shut your damn mouth, comply until you can get out of there and live another day. But whatever you do, don't be popping off your mouth and get killed. Because that was a killing situation. Because she was playing. Stop playing. All right, brother, let's move on.
And I tell my kids all the time, I say, dude, I don't care what's going on, because at the end of the day, I want you coming home to me. If you have to lay down on the ground and they can kick you, beat you, at least you're going to go to the hospital and you're going to come home to me. Don't, whatever they say to you, don't take it upon yourself to let that rage you have against that cop come out, because he has the gun. He can end you. And I don't want him to end you, because if he ends you, that means I'm going to end him. Yesterday, I was sitting there and I started crying. And my wife walks in. She's like, "Are you crying because you turned 50 today?" And I started laughing. Like, no. I said, "Did you see the video of this guy getting shot?" And at first, I saw it. I'm looking at it. I thought, well, maybe they're going to tase him, right? Because that's what they do with white people. They tase them. And so I didn't have the volume up. And then Christian walks in the room. He says, "No, Dad, they shot him." So I play it again. I'm like, wow. They shoot this guy 7 times in the back. And then I have this conversation with Christian. And he's like, that's wrong, that's wrong. I said, yo, it is beyond wrong. It's just flat out evil. And I'm telling him, and it's hard to tell your 14-year-old son that I worry about him when he walks out that door. I have a 21-year-old son. I worry about him because black men are endangered species, pretty much. These cops are just killing because they feel like if they don't have their body cams on, they have a right. And I tell my kids all the time, I say, dude, I don't care what's going on, because at the end of the day, I want you coming home to me. If you have to lay down on the ground and they can kick you, beat you, at least you're gonna go to the hospital and you're gonna come home to me. Don't, whatever they say to you, don't take it upon yourself to let that rage you have against that cop come out, because he has the gun. He can end you. And I don't want him to end you, because if he ends you, that means I'm going to end him. That's it. I don't want that to happen. I already lost one child. I don't need to lose another. And I don't think people understand, especially white people, how hard it is for black people to watch that.
My son is 9, and he's not old enough to leave the house by himself yet. But I don't know if people appreciate the fact that we have to have these conversations with our kids on a regular basis. We have to sit with them and tell them to do their best. No matter how unjust they feel a situation is, we have to teach them to always take down, to always be as unthreatening as they possibly can be. And the terrifying thing on top of that is, even though they can do everything they possibly can do to be non-threatening, they could still be viewed as a threat. Even if they comply and tell police officers, like Philando Castile told police officers that he had a weapon, a legally owned firearm, they still fear us. And the root of that fear is decades, generations of dehumanizing black people. Dehumanizing black people to justify how we were treated in slavery, in Jim Crow, the Civil Rights era, and now in this era of Black Lives Matter. There's a level of dehumanization that takes place, and you can see it in the media. You can see it in the media, where if a black victim, the victim of a crime, the victim of police brutality, the victim of police murder, is always criminalized. They look up everything they possibly can find through his past, and they put that on full display. But the white supremacist murderer of 2 protesters, the media portrays him as an aspiring cop, as someone who was scrubbing down graffiti in Kenosha before the shooting. There's a level of humanizing that we grant, that our society grants white people, that they do not give black people, and this is indisputable. It is indisputable. And that's what our kids have to deal with when they run into police officers. There's a natural inclination in every single human being to assert their humanity, to assert their personal dignity, to assert their right to exist and to be respected as a human being. But when black kids, black men, black women come into contact with police officers, we have to relinquish that level of our dignity and of our humanity. It's not something that white people have to relinquish, not for fear of their life, for fear of jail maybe, but not for fear of their life. But black people, if we assert ourselves and we assert our dignity and we assert our right to be treated as a human being and to be respected as a human being, in the moment that we have a confrontation with the police, we get killed. And so the conversations that that this black father, that Robert Horry has to have with his sons, is the same one that I'm preparing to have with my son, my two sons. The same conversation my father had with me, the same, it's like a rite of passage. In that moment, no matter how much you feel like you are being disrespected by the police, in order for you to survive, son, you have to sacrifice a piece of your humanity, a piece of your dignity, a piece of your right to be respected. You have to relinquish that, because if you don't, it's a good possibility that you won't come home to me.
Ain't nothing for me to say on that. Let's look at another one, brother, because the fact is, it speaks for itself. Now, there's a piece we're going to look at here now with Shannon, and then we might get to Doc Rivers. But, you know, Doc Rivers, maybe, maybe not, but we want you to look at this piece with Shannon.
Did you see the 17-year-old that went out there with the long gun last night and killed 2 people and walked right by the police?
Right.
For me, it's hard for me to understand that you feel more threatened by my black skin than a 17-year-old with an AR-15. Let that sink in. My black skin and a white kid with a rifle in the street, and you're more threatened by my skin than that gun.
Now, there's 2 pieces we want to look at here. We want to look at the fact that this Christian organization has raised nearly $1 million for Kyle, the boy that killed them people in Kenosha. And then we want to look at this piece here, where the mother of the dude, Blake, in Kenosha, has already forgiven the cops for shooting him. So we ain't going to get into all of that here, but we just want to close out with these 2 pieces here, and then we're going to say a little bit about this beautiful painting you see over here. All right, brother. Now, this piece here speaks for itself. Mother of man paralyzed after Wisconsin police shooting, I've already forgiven. Now, she's a good Christian. But now, you know, yesterday Biden went to Kenosha and met with his daddy, who was a Muslim. And there's a whole big controversy that's developed out of that. Because the day before, Trump went and he didn't meet with him, but Trump said one thing, they said something else. Trump said they wanted the lawyer there. They said Trump didn't do that. And my question was for both. Why would Trump meet with you? Why would Biden meet with you? Your damn boy is a criminal. He created a situation that people have died in. A whole town has been almost burnt up because he was so stupid that he didn't have enough sense and enough consideration for his own children who was in the car that was not his, that he put their life at risk and his own life at risk because he didn't know how to comply to the police. Oh, I know you don't want to hear that. That sounds too harsh. And he done raised damn near $3 million. Get out of here. Let's go on, man. Let's look at this last piece here. Nearly $1 million has been raised for Kenosha shooting Kyle. The same Christian that his mama is. She forgives. And that's, you know, that's her business. But now, that boy, and they're going to probably use self-defense, that's what they say. And, you know, I ain't going to say too much about it, you know, whatever the situation is. I know if somebody in my face and I got a gun, I'm going to blow their head off too. So, I mean, you say what you want to say. All that other stuff don't matter. Dude was in his face. Here you are, a white man, 36 years old, in a 17-year-old boy face, talking about what you're going to do to him, trying to snatch his gun. What did you expect the boy to do? I don't want to hear that black and white foolishness. Don't say he didn't have a right to be there. Okay, he might have been too young, so you say. But the law's saying something different in some places. But you want your fake news because you think I'm giving up fake news. But the fact is the same. If somebody is running, the boy on the ground, the dude got a skateboard finna hit the boy in his head to take his gun, don't boy have a right to shoot him? I don't know what planet you live on. Stop faking. I don't uphold none of this, but I really don't uphold the dude that got shot in the back. Because had not he got in that situation, none of this would be happening. And that is what I stand on, and that's what I'm speaking on. Facebook, YouTube, and any other y'all. It is what it is. I stand on that. Oh, I know. That ain't what you want to hear. But show me this picture here, Omari, so we can get out of here, man. Let these people see this beautiful picture. This picture here was done by an artist over in Kenya, East Africa. You know, I'm looking at my sign, and that other picture I had that was done by them kids in Cabrini back in 1989 and 91, it spoke to the opioid situation, the dope crack situation. But it was getting in the way of my spirit. It was blocking out my damn speak on it. It just, it's, you know. So Amari brought me this picture here. And another one that I'm going to bring the next time I'm here. You see how the energy changed? That's really my spirit there. That's what I like that. All that old negative images, I can't deal with it. This Kenya. See, when you go to Africa, whether it's East Africa, West Africa, you go to the market. And in the market, you got all type of things. Pictures, animal parts, depending if you're a doctor, herbs, all type of things that you could think about that they don't have in the market here. But they have markets that are really markets, not in those stores in some places. You go to some serious market. Fetish market is the one I like to go to. That's what I said, fetish market. And they have all type of fetishes. All of them lion heads, them elephant teeth, and all that stuff. But then they have a section where there are artists, and this is what they do. So somebody had got a hold to this, and Omari got a hold to it, and he shared it with me. And I said, yeah, we're going to share it with the audience. Thank you, Omari. We appreciate it. Be sure to let them folks in Kenya, maybe you can send whatever y'all do in this modern day, send whoever might have done that, send them a copy themselves sitting up there. That'd be good. That's a beautiful piece. Look at it. That's art. But until next week, we out. Alafia, peace, and good health.